Hey, have you heard about Podcast On? This is a global podcast charity event where hosts dedicate one episode to a nonprofit they care about and release it together the same week. No fundraising, no fees, just powerful storytelling for good. Podcast On 2026 runs March 14th to March 20th. Join thousands of podcasters worldwide and use your voice for impact. It's free, it's simple, and it starts at podcasthon.org.
The Marketing Podcast Network is a proud partner of Podcast On.
You enjoy podcasts. We know because you're listening to one. Hi, I'm Jason Falls, the executive producer of the Marketing Podcast Network. We love podcasts too, so much so that in addition to providing you with the great episode you're listening to, we also help businesses, brands, and even individuals produce their podcasts. MPN Studios offers podcast consulting and production services to help you get you or your business its very own podcast. We've helped dozens of smart people, advertising agencies, and brands develop podcasts. All you do is record your content or interview. We take that and deliver a professionally produced audio or video episode, complete with show notes, transcriptions, and even promotional clips to use on social media. And our monthly subscription prices are hard to beat. If you or your company are jonesing to have your own podcast to establish thought leadership, drive business leads, or just have fun talking about your business or topic of choice, we'd love to help. Learn more at marketingpodcasts.net/studio. That's marketingpodcasts.net/studio.
Welcome to Your Radiant Spirit, the podcast where art, energy, and inspiration come alive. Hosted by award-winning intuitive painter Heather Eck, synesthetic artist, chakra expert, and spiritual guide. This show invites you to explore the transformative power of color, creativity, and spiritual healing. Heather's unique gift of seeing color through energy fuels her stunning spirit portraits and chakra-aligned artworks, designed to bring healing and alignment to your life. Whether you're curious about the magic of chakras, looking to unlock your creative potential, or eager to connect with your radiant spirit, you're in the right place. Your radiant spirit is calling. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to Your Radiant Spirit. I'm so excited today to share my guest, Jen Smith. She and I met we have a really interesting story how we met, so I'll hold that, but I'll share her bio so you can hear how wonderful she is, and then we'll dive in. Jen Smith believes career success doesn't have to be at the expense of a radiantly happy, healthy lifestyle. As a sought-after career and HR consultant with professional roots grounded deep within corporate America, Jen brings over 15 years of progressive global HR leadership experience across multiple industries and Fortune 200 companies. Now, as the founder of Flourish Careers and the host of the Flourish Careers podcast, Jen is on a mission to support heart-based, career-minded professionals in navigating the changing world of work and taking the right next steps toward a happier and healthier career. Jen also has an unshakable love for books, notebooks, pens, and planners. She's all in, whether it's crisp pages of a new notebook, the perfect smooth glide of a gel pen, or the thrill of organizing her thoughts in a fresh planner. She fully embraces this notebook nerd identity and believes there's nothing quite like putting pen to paper to spark creativity. So welcome,
Yes,
Jen.
thank you so much, Heather. I know we share a love of pens and paper and notebooks and planners and all the things. So it's so fun to have that connection.
We really do. I mean, I think I hoard journals and pens, and each journal has a specific function for a specific thing.
This is true.
I'm a planner hoarder too, so
I love
love
it.
it.
It's so much fun.
Well, I'm so happy you're here with me today. I would love to share with the listeners how we met, because we have a really sort of serendipitous meet
Yes.
cute, I would call it.
Yes, I love that. Yeah. Do you want me to start since I was the
Oh,
one that initiated? Yeah. So
yeah.
this is one of my most favorite stories. So someone had recommended a podcast to me, the Brave Women at Work podcast hosted by Jen Pastigas. And so I was scrolling the episodes. I'm like, which one do I want to listen to? And Heather's episode jumped out at me about color and spirit portraits and all these things that just like literally jumped off the page. So I had to listen to this episode, and I was so intrigued by everything that you said that literally I remember standing in my kitchen. Like I usually listen to podcasts in the morning before I start my day. And I was in my kitchen And the podcast had ended. I'm like, where are the show notes? I'm booking a spirit portrait like immediately. It was so like, I literally was standing in my kitchen on my phone booking the spirit portrait. I was so excited. And then we did the spirit portrait together, which is the most amazing experience. I loved it so much. And then you introduced me to Jen, and then that collaboration has started, and you and I have stayed in touch ever since. I think I recommend spirit portraits to everybody I talk to. So I think a few people have come your way.
Thank you.
It's so fun.
I love that. I think that one of my favorite things is introducing people and forming little links or chains, like where people can connect and they can collaborate. And I just love it. I think that's the
Yeah, you're
best.
good
So
at it.
I think
Yeah.
it's great. Oh, thank you
Yeah.
for saying that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so are you. I think you and I equally have like connected one another to people in
We
these really
have.
awesome ways.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's all about, right?
It
Like,
is. That's what it's all about. Yeah. And you're going to notice too, as your podcast continues to grow, the podcast for me has really opened doors. Cause then I had you on the podcast, and then, you connected me to Jen, and the podcast community of networking has just been so fabulous and such a surprise. Actually, I didn't expect to really that wasn't an intention of having a podcast.
yeah.
But it's been such a beautiful outcome, is making new professional friends like you. And so it's just been a really fun way to network.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that is such a powerful thing. And I think just being able to meet other people in this capacity and learn that you're not alone in how you think
Oh,
about things. Like
yes.
you've got a heart-centered business. I have a heart-centered business. So does Jen. So does the
Yes.
people that you've connected with. And I think when all of us come together, that elevates us all and raises the vibration and
It
helps
does.
everybody do more. And I love
Yes.
that.
I love it. Yeah. So good.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here. I'd love for you to tell us your story. You and I both share the HR background experience. We both can sort of align on we took a leap of faith and we left. Tell us how you did that. What was that about?
Okay. Yes. So throughout my career, I always felt just super kind of lost. And it was one of those things where I fell into an operations job right out of college, had no idea what I was doing, like relocated multiple times. I just kept taking like these roles, like, oh, you're good at this, do this. Like, okay, oh, you're good at this, do this. I just really wasn't paying attention to my own self, even though I was very ambitious, super career driven. I never had a clear path. I never knew what I was good at. I never knew what I wanted to do. And so I just kind of took whatever came my way. And there was kind of two pivotal moments. So the first was I started my career in operations. And then after 4 years, I remember, you probably remember from corporate, like skip level meetings. So like your boss's boss, right? So my boss's boss like came to the facility that I was working. He's like, so Jen, what do you want to do with your career? And it was like this deer in headlights, like, oh my God, I have no idea. Like no one ever asked me that. I don't know, And so that was the first time I ever paused. And I was like, okay, what do I want to do? And so I kind of just like dissected and reflected, like, what do I love about operations? What do I not love about it? And everything pointed toward the people side of the business. I'm like, okay, I was so excited. It was like that song, KT Tunstall, Suddenly I See. Like that song was literally playing. Okay. So I'm like, I want to go into HR. I'm so excited to go into HR. So I like got up all the nerve, talked to my boss, and they're like, no, you don't have the education. You don't have the network. You don't have the experiences. So I ended up doing what any ambitious professional would do. And I created a plan and signed up for every HR related project I could get my hands on. And eventually an HR role opened up in this tiny town in Connecticut. Like nobody wanted to move there. I raised my hand. I was like, give me a chance. I went through a grueling interview process and they gave me a chance. And then I spent the majority of my career, 15 years in corporate HR. So kind of, being an HR business partner, supporting sites, and then moved around into talent management, talent acquisition, all of those things. But I was always lost. Like I was always itching, like something isn't quite fitting. Like it's the environment. Is it the team I'm working with? Like it just felt not like me. And so when I started, so there was a couple, like I had a big health challenge. We don't need to get into that today, but had a big health challenge. And that's where I really started just to like recognize, like, what do I really like? Who am I really? And what do I really want in my career? And this was around the time, I don't know if you know Marie Forleo, she started like B School. And so there were some people starting these like online businesses. And I was so intrigued. I was like, oh my gosh, you can work that way. Like you could have that kind of lifestyle and like work from home. Like I thought it was so fascinating. And I really just started to kind of lean into that. It took forever for me to like figure out Flourish careers, but eventually I was like, I'm just going to give myself 1 year and see if I can make this work and take all that HR experience and help other people with their careers. And comes very naturally to me, a lot of that work. And so I was like, I'm going to give myself 1 year. At the end of 2019, I took that leap. Little did I know I was going into a global pandemic in 2020. But I will tell you that year, I had so much more time and space because I was career coaching on the side while I was doing my corporate. I just didn't have the time or space. And so once I left that behind in December of 2019, going into 2020, when so many more people needed help with all things because they were job loss, they were rethinking their lives. Like I had the extra time and space to be able to help them. So it was actually turned into a blessing in disguise. And now here we are in 2025, still get to do this work. So, yeah.
Wow. I'm so curious about your early experience in HR because I sort of had a similar transition where I'd worked in corporate banking for a while. I had done all the operations, I'd done project management, I'd done all of that. I was itchy like you. I'm like, something's missing. What is it? I want to work with the people, got into HR. And I found myself in a place where I instantly felt like a counselor for people.
Oh, yes.
What was your experience like?
That's
'Cause I-
interesting. I think you are. I think HR is a little bit of a counselor for people. My experience was a little bit different. I was working in manufacturing. It was like drinking from a fire hose, quite frankly. I mean, employee relations stuff that I literally can't even repeat because it was so off the charts. Like it was pretty wild.
I can
And to
imagine.
be like a first time HR person in that environment, it was wild. But I do agree with you, especially because you're, as an HR person, you're kind of this neutral entity amongst, and you're kind of like the middleman between, like the protecting the business, from legal things, and then also supporting the employees. And when you support employees, especially if there's change going on or, even leadership changes, anything, like you're the one they're coming to for help, no matter what the situation is. So yeah, that coaching, counseling, it does play a huge role.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you found yourself in this place where you said, okay, I'm gonna leave this behind. I'm gonna move off and start my own thing. What was you have a very heart-centered approach to what you do now. Tell us about the Flourish careers and how you take that heart-centered energy into the work that you do today.
Yes. Thank you for that question. Yeah. So what I love to do is help people because I was so lost through all of those years. Even once I got into HR, like I still felt really lost. I jumped around from like talent management, business partner, talent acquisition, like still trying to figure it out. And so what I learned through all of that is that there's a couple key components to helping people feel alignment in their career. And that's really the heart-based piece to me, is finding that alignment around your core and lifestyle values. Like, what do you value in your career and your life in this moment in time, knowing that's going to change throughout your life, and that's okay. But let's start there as the foundation. And then I like to help people think about their impact. So this doesn't need to be anything altruistic or anything like that. It's just, let's align your impact or interest with your career. So I started in manufacturing at Frito-Lay, so potato chips. I was not interested in potato chips. Like, that is not something that I want to make an impact in. It was a great experience. Like, don't get me wrong, amazing people, all the things. But, figuring out what that impact or the interests are, and then energy. So when I think about energy, it's what are your strengths at work? Like, what are you really good at? And how do you do more of that? So the old school way of thinking is like, hey, you're not good at strategic planning, so we're going to make you do more of that so you get good at it. I'm the opposite. I'm like, hey, I'm not good at strategic planning. Someone else is. Let them do that and let me do like the creative or whatever, like whatever my strengths are to kind of keep pushing me forward. So once you align your core and lifestyle values, your impact and your energy, that's when things start to click. And it's never going to be perfect, but that's the idea. And so let me give you a quick example. I was working with a beloved. She was in academia. So she was working in academia, very like well-known schools, kind of doing that path, but something felt really off for her. So she really wanted to connect with people. She had a background in biology. And so it ended up like from an alignment standpoint. And she also valued flexibility and remote work. So from a values standpoint, we kind of uncovered, and there's lots of ways to like uncover all of that. And then she really wanted to, like, the impact was really around people's well-being, which is a really big. So then we broke that down. Is it mental well-being? Is it physical well-being? And so it was really around this mental well-being. So and then we found organizations that were in alignment with her and her values and the things that she was looking for and how she wanted to make an impact. And she's really good one-on-one with people. She had kind of a side business doing some energy work with folks. And so that was really what drove her energy. So it all aligned for her to be this like mental well-being health coach. And so we made that shift. So then it's like all the practical and tactical. How do I talk about myself? How do I update my brand? How do I get my resume? Like all of that stuff. So we helped her move from this very academic background that never would have translated to like an up and coming startup health and, mental health coach. And so we kind of did all of that reflection work and then all the work to get her actually into the job. And she's on her like third promotion at this point. So
Wow.
yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting. I love that you took such a holistic approach to the
Yes.
person, what they
Yes.
value, what feels like it's in alignment with them. I think it's so interesting too when you look at someone's career, like if I look back at mine and you go back in time, a lot of times you're being prepared for new
Yes.
things along the way. Can you talk about what you've seen,
Oh my
for
gosh.
people like that?
Yeah, the hindsight is 2020. I say
Uh-huh.
this all the time and it's so funny. And it's especially hard when folks come in and they're really unsure, like they don't know. So like sometimes going backwards and connecting the dots can be really helpful. And so sometimes I'll even go back like, hey, think about high school, think about college, like what classes did you really love? What were you really good at? What weren't you? Like what kind of gave you that pause? And so like we'll go back and start there and then even okay, I tell people do an energy audit, like go through your week last week or go through your last month and make a list of everything you were looking forward to in your calendar. Like, and then how did you feel after those things? And so then we start to connect the dots into like what might be next from a clarity standpoint. So there's lots of clues. Like you're right. There's lots of clues. I even asked like, hey, what's on your bookshelf? Like when you go to Barnes and Noble, what books are you drawn to? All of these things can help us when we're trying to gain that clarity into what's next. And then sometimes people are really limited. So like they'll think, oh, I love teaching, but I don't want to, I'm never going to go back to school to be a teacher in a classroom. Like, okay, well, what is it about teaching you love? And then we get into like, something around like, I love sharing knowledge. Okay, what do you love sharing knowledge about? And then that usually leads to, some type of role or some type of industry that somebody would want to move into. So it's like helping them like look back, helping connect the dots and then think more broadly, because a lot of times people are like super narrow focused and they talk themselves out of something before they even like explore it or think more broadly. So that's where a thought partner can become really helpful, just to like take that step back and ask those questions and help connect the dots.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you just said two things I want to come back to. The first is I love that you have people sort of go back in time and look at, what did you enjoy about your time in college or these classes? And, from a spiritual perspective, my teacher has taught me, and it's something I always pay attention to for people too, is what were you like as a kid? Like,
Oh,
what were you
yes.
interested in, right?
Yeah.
Because we get asked when you're a kid, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And we come up with an astronaut or whatever.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, like your gifts and your curiosities and your interests as a kid really do sort of light up a path for what your potential offering is here, like.
Yes.
And so that's such a powerful thing to have somebody go back and look at, because I think if you're sitting in a job where you're like, I really hate this, and I really don't know what I want to do, you have to sort of go back and follow like, okay, well, what did I used to be curious about? And
Yep.
there's really powerful answers in there for you.
Yeah, there really is. I love that you said that. Yeah, I do. That's a really good question for people just to think about and journal on. And I did that at one point too. And one of the things, this is so funny especially because we were talking about our love of planners and papers. So one of the things I used to do as a kid is I played important papers. So I'm not even kidding you. I had like papers and pens and stuff. And like I'd have like my little play desk. And like that's what I didn't love dolls or Barbies. I loved playing important papers. So
I am like stuck on stupid right now because I did the same thing. We had like a little desk, and I would take all my I think my nanny, my grandmother worked at the She worked at the phone company and this is like the 80s, guys.
Yes.
You'd have like stacks of paper with all these holes on it. And I would like rifle through and highlight and circle. And like I would carry around this stack of paper like I had places to be. I had meetings to go to.
This is amazing that we have this connection. Like, I can't even believe it. I mean, I should believe it because we do have so much in common, but that is hilarious. I've never really told anyone that, I guess, but now that we both have done that is just absolutely amazing.
That is so funny too, because, like I think so I'm a healer, I'm a spiritual healer.
Yes.
You're a career healer,
Yes.
like you help
Right.
people do. But oftentimes we don't know how to help ourselves, right?
This is true.
So I just had a session with a woman who's a psychic and she's an intuitive healer for medical. And so she looks at your medical and she looks at where you are. And so anyway, all of this to
Wow.
say, she told me this morning that I am literally like jogging in my business, like too much, like I got to slow it down.
Oh.
And she said, it's like you have stacks of paper and you're like running around and you're trying to do all these things and you need to just like slow it all down. And so I feel like this conversation is so funny to me because that's who I was as a little kid.
Yes.
So, and I brought that
Yes.
into my 40s now.
Yes, that
it's
is
still with me.
amazing. Yes, it
Funny?
is. Yeah. And sometimes it does, like, just to your point, like sometimes it does take an outside person to point that out even, right? And like
Yeah.
help connect those dots. So here we are connecting dots in this conversation, which is
Exactly.
fun. Yeah.
And that's
So,
I think that's one of the wonderful things about having that thought partner, like someone like
mhm.
you who can help you look at things. Is it subjectively or
Yeah,
objectively? Yeah.
both.
And both, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And look at your career and say, okay, let's really dig in and understand what made you take this opportunity, where
Yes.
you are now, and what is the next place where you want to be able to show up and add value and leave a legacy and
Yes.
function from your most authentic
Oh,
place, right?
yes. Amen. Yes, that's exactly right. And that's, I think, with that itch, I was saying like that I kept feeling like none of it was authentic to me. And that's fine. Like some people can thrive in those different types of environments and corporate is their thing. And that's great. But for me, it just wasn't. And I couldn't see any other way because that's all I knew. So then when I saw like these other people working in different ways, like the Marie Forleos of the world, I was like, oh my gosh, there is a different way. And that's really what happens too. Is like, go find people that have done it. Even if you have like a little tiny clue, go find someone that's done what you wanted to do, whether that's, switch from HR into marketing, or whether that's, be a solopreneur or whatever, self-employed, whatever it is, just like go talk to people that have done it. And that can give you more information to help you make the most informed decision. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
So you started your career, or not your career, but you started this business right before COVID happened. I keep saying that the time we're in now in 2025 feels very much like COVID. The energy feels the same to me, except we're able to go out and about and leave our houses and all, but the energy feels exactly the same. So I'm curious, when you first started this, what were you noticing as sort of trends or behaviors or things that you were seeing in the market? And also, and the reason I'm asking is because I think during COVID, we saw it was what it was called, like the Great Resignation,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And so people took that as an opportunity to really assess themselves and go, hold on, I don't want to be doing this anymore. I got to be doing something different. And a lot of people, I think, made a shift into doing something altogether different, work that supported their spirit more so than supported their need for a paycheck. Now, I think we're seeing another shift in careers where people are sort of being pushed out of opportunities that they've had. And now they're needing to, again, look at themselves and go, wait a minute, this just happened to me. I've got to find another way. So what are you noticing now compared to that period last? And is it the same, or are you seeing different things?
Yeah, that's a great thought. And you're spot on with both of those, like kind of the energy and what's been happening. It is a little bit different. So to me in 2020, it was people rethinking their purpose because life is short. So we're seeing all of this, kind of chaos around us, but also end of life. Like people were losing their lives because of this, situation. And so it really made people like recognize like, hey, tomorrow isn't guaranteed. What do I want to do with my life and my career? And so it was a little bit more, to me, it depends. It depends on the industry too, because some places were just shutting down and shutting doors. Like, think about like hospitality, they were just shutting down. But then other people that maybe weren't shutting down were rethinking their whole lives and their careers.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. And so this time around, you're right. There's more uncertainty in the sense of like the market, I would say. We can see what's going on with the government right now, where people are being kind of obviously like pushed out. And when it's different when it's not your choice versus when it is your choice, or you're being proactive versus reactive. And so that just also brings a little bit of a different energy, but also gives you, whether it's forced or not, that time to pause and reflect and figure out what might be next. Now, the other thing that's different right now is the quickness of technology and AI that's taking over right now too. And so that's another thing that folks are having to take into consideration depending on the role in the industry that they're working in as well. So it's a reflection point, it's a pause point for slightly different reasons, I guess, is what I would say. I don't know if that makes sense or resonates, but it's still like, you still need to do that reflection and figure out what might be next in a world where we're not really sure what it's going to look like for the next, 5 or 10 years because of so much uncertainty, in leadership, as well as decisions that are being made, as well as the technology that's coming 100 miles an hour at us. So it's tough. It's really hard, but that's where, when you can tune in, like get super quiet, tune in, know what questions, or find the questions to ask yourself, and like get quiet with those answers, that will help you take the right next step forward. It doesn't have to be a leap. You don't have to jump out of the airplane. Like, it can just be like small steps in a new direction, which I think is always best, because then you take that small step, you get information from it, and then you take the next. So it doesn't have to be like the jump off the cliff point.
Yeah, I appreciate that perspective. It does sort of feel like we're back in that time again, and people are finding themselves in that energy again. And so I think that the work that you do is more important now than ever, because I think it's helping us really return to this place of wanting to be our most authentic selves, no matter
Yes.
where we are.
Yes.
And authenticity has been, I would call it like a buzzword for a while now. I got certified in authentic leadership coaching a few years ago. I want to say like 2017. And I'm curious if you've seen a shift in workplaces helping to support authenticity. And if so, what are you seeing companies start to do now as they're bringing new people in and getting them onboarded into new cultures?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think this is going to be very dependent on the industry, because I do believe there are still some industries that are pretty cutthroat and they don't really care about authenticity, and it's all about the bottom line. And, right, wrong, or indifferent, they're still out there. The ones that I've personally either, heard anecdotal feedback or have worked alongside or with are making changes to support the humans that work at their organization. So, for example, something so simple, flexible work policies. I mean, it's really not that difficult to have some guidelines around flexible work, and it goes such a long way. For COVID, that was the number one thing that people craved, was just flexibility to like have a life outside work. And I felt that way in corporate too. I'm sure you did too, Heather. Like, I literally felt like I was in a cage. I'm like, why do I have to be in this office from 8 o'clock or 7:30 in the morning until 5 or 5:30 at night when I'm done with my work in 3 hours? Like, and it's not like that every day, but like, why do I have to just sit here and be like visible? Like, it's so dumb to me. And so anyways, flexible work is like a really big thing. And so many more companies are allowing that for their folks. And I think that the other thing too is just like knowing that not everyone thrives in every type of environment, and being open to having those conversations, like being open to having a conversation as a manager with your team around like, hey, what do you value right now in your career? Like what's not working? What is working? Asking for feedback, just opening the conversation and letting people know that you care about them as humans goes such a long way in today's world of work. It's always been a key contributor, I think, but not always as relevant as it is now. So, the fact that we spend 90,000 hours of our lives working, a third of our lives working, knowing that somebody at a company that you're working for cares about you can just go so far. So,
Oh my gosh, yeah, so far. I think you just made me think of a therapeutic art exercise that I had people do. I didn't even realize that it was like therapeutic art at the time, right? But it really is. If you're having trouble thinking about what you value, think about what irritates you. And
Oh, right.
typically the opposite of that is what you
It's what you
value.
value. Yes, right. Exactly. So like if we're so irritated by the fact that we're in a cage, like, from like 8 to 5 every day, like, okay, what's the opposite of that? Oh, I can go and come as I please. I can, work from home and get my laundry done while I'm, still writing or doing whatever I have to do for work, So yeah, that's a really good call out.
Yeah. And then it helps you see that, oh, I value freedom. I value
Yeah,
flexibility. I value my
exactly.
own time.
Yes. Oh, that's
So
the biggest
important.
thing for me. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like my time is my time. Like that was just such a huge differentiator for me and like trying my own thing. So.
Yeah. So, this is a podcast about how we can live our most radiant lives. How did your life become more radiant when you stepped out of that cage and doing your own
Yeah.
beautiful thing?
I love this question. Yes, it's really, so one of my core values is time. Like I really value my time. We spend 1 minute, it's gone forever. You can never get it back. And I value time over money and over everything. And so just the fact that I have more ownership over my time and I can direct my schedule and I can work with my own energy rhythms, day to day, month to month, year to year, all of those things is so incredibly freeing for me.
Mm.
And the fact that I don't have to respond to every ding, ping, phone, email, like all of these things immediately that I felt like was the expectation in that old world that I worked in is like, those things have just been such a game changer for me. And I just feel so, so grateful to be able to work in that way.
I love that. If you had to share advice for somebody who's sort of sitting in that space right now, they feel like they're in the cage. What's the first thing you'd offer them to start to look at making a change or starting to think about moving into something that helps them feel more heart-centered, more
Aligned.
free?
Yeah. I would say pause.
Mm.
Just give yourself some time and space to think without all the dings and pings, without people asking for your, whatever they need from you. Like go on a walk, go to a coffee shop, just like spend some time in the pause. And it can be uncomfortable because we're so used to doing, but when you can just pause and just kind of tune in a little bit, and the exercise kind of similar to what you said, like what's really irritating to me, or like what does that like perfect day look like for you? Like what do you want to do right when you wake up? And I'm sure it's not check your email. Like, what does your morning routine look like? What is your,
Right.
like think about that perfect day. Like sometimes people can't even do that, but if you pause and really like let yourself imagine what that perfect day would look like, that can give you a really good starting point, but you have to give yourself that space, the time and space for that pause.
Isn't that the truth? I think that's so important. And I think that also aligns very much with self care. When you are really trying to make any kind of change in your life, in your career, and whatever, you really have to take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when we are working so hard in these jobs that if they don't have flexibility, or you do feel like you have to respond immediately to every ping or ding or email that pops in, you're probably running around with a very high level of stress or anxiety, right? And so giving yourself those moments of pause to journal or to just, daydream about what you'd
Yes.
want your day to look like. That's
Yes.
self-care.
Yes, it is. Get dreamy. That's my favorite mantra is nourish to flourish. And that's like all about taking care of your body, mind, and spirit. Because if you don't, everyone else will take that time and space away from you. Like you have to prioritize yourself in all of those ways, or you're going to be nothing to anybody. And that is self-care and making that time. And that's where like I have this like little time. I don't know. I don't like the words time management, but this little hack that I say 5 minutes to flourish, just spend 5 minutes, like just start with 5 minutes. That's actually how I started my business. When I was working a very demanding day job, it was 5 minutes before I turned on my computer or went to work that I would do one tiny thing for my future self or my business. And all of that literally added up. And it took a while, but yeah. So that's why I say 5 minutes to flourish.
Oh, I love that. Can you say more about that? Like, if you give yourself 5 minutes to do something for your future self, or you did it for your business, like, what did that look like
Oh my
for
gosh.
you?
Okay. So I'll just give you a visual here. So I'm up in, this is my treehouse. I call it the third floor. So this is when I was able to work from home for my last corporate job. And I would come up here 7:30 in the morning. I remember it's still dark out, and I've got like my coffee, my iced coffee, and I'm coming up to my treehouse, and I would just do one thing. So whether that was find somebody, like do a quick Google search to find somebody to help design a website for me, or maybe it was, I don't know, like read a chapter in a book about career coaching or doing my certification, whatever it was one tiny thing every day. Maybe it wasn't every day, but that's the thing. You have to do it consistently or else.
Yeah.
And I would set a timer. I'd just set a little timer on my phone with a nice little like musical alarm that goes off after 5 minutes. And then what I would do is like, if I had more time, I would continue. Or if it was like, nope, I got to log into the day job or do whatever, then I was like, you know what? Celebrate. I did one tiny thing. And before my day got away from me. So it was one tiny thing before like anything, the day got away from me, and celebrate that and know that I did that one tiny thing. And I just felt so much better, and then could like manage the day job knowing that I was taking these tiny steps towards my future. So
I love that. I actually think I remember when I was still working in HR and I was starting my art practice that really wasn't even a business
yeah.
yet. I would wake up early in the morning and just go to the studio for like 10, 15 minutes, pour
See?
some paint on a canvas.
Yeah.
Just that little bit of time it filled my cup so much that I was able to go about the day and I felt like I had done something to support my
Your
spirit, to
spirit.
support,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
such a
That's
powerful
awesome.
tool. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love
Oh
it.
my
Thank you.
gosh. Yeah, absolutely. I would love to hear, who are the folks that you love to help and how can they get in
Mm.
touch with you?
Ooh, well, thank you for that question. I love to help, and I say like heart-based, career-minded professionals. So folks that are, I would say like have some career aspirations, maybe feeling a little bit lost or need some help kind of connecting those dots, or maybe feeling that itch, like something just doesn't quite fit, and, are looking for that thought partner to help support them. So that's what I would say. I don't specialize in any specific industry. The work I do is industry agnostic. It works for everybody. So yeah, and I mean, at all stages of career, in my career, I did a lot of recruiting for students and recent grads. So the early to mid career folks, I've worked a lot with on both sides, as career coach and in corporate. So, but yeah, so that's a little bit about, I guess, like folks that I love to work with, men and women. I know my brand is kind of girly in the sense of feminine and the sense of flourish and stuff, but I do love working with both men and women. So that's a little bit about who I work with. And then getting in touch, my website is flourish.careers. So super easy. Instagram, flourish.careers, everything's flourish.careers. So kind of easy to find online.
And you have a wonderful podcast that I
Oh
love
yeah, thank you.
listening to, and your
Yes.
voice is so soothing on it. I feel
Oh,
like
you're
you
so
should
sweet.
record meditations for us too.
Oh my gosh. Ooh, that would be fun. Maybe. Yeah. Thank
Maybe
you
like
for
your
that.
5 minute
Oh yeah, 5 minutes
reset
to
or your
flourish.
5 minutes to flourish
Yeah.
meditations.
Ooh, you might be planting a fun seed. Thank you.
You're welcome. I love that. I feel like I would tune into that every day.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you. I loved chatting with you.
I love our connection. And I guess like maybe one takeaway would be that pause, and maybe just starting with 5 minutes, like just pause and start with 5 minutes for yourself and see where that leads. My guess is that you'll see how quickly those 5 minutes add up, and you'll be well on your way to whatever comes next.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's awesome. Thank you so much for being with me today. I've so
Yes.
loved this conversation, and I hope that our listeners do too.
Absolutely. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Your Radiant Spirit. If today's episode lit up your creativity or helped you connect with your inner energy, please leave us a review and share your thoughts. Your feedback helps us spread more light to others. To dive deeper, visit www.heathereck.com for courses, workshops, and custom spirit portraits. And for daily inspiration and behind-the-scenes magic, follow Heather on Instagram at @HeatherEckArtist. Your radiant spirit is calling. Take the next step on your journey. See you next time.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.